Hi, hello, and welcome to Data Wings. If this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. So what we're going to be looking at today are the world deserts. And the first one we're looking at is the Sahara Desert, which is the largest desert in the entire world. And the topography or landscape here are sand dunes and volcano. And it's actually very arid over here. And some of the other things you can see here, such as the plants or the plant life here, are the Citrullus coleosynthesis and the Anica tree. The people who live here are the Tuareg tribe. And one interesting thing about them is for festivals and stuff, they gather in large groups and they dance together. And another desert, which is also located in Africa, is the Kalahari Desert. But it isn't as hot as the Sahara Desert is. And it's more south of the Sahara Desert, which means it is semi-arid. And some of the topography or landscape here are grasslands and flatland. Flatland is very little. Most of it is just grassland, like where these zebras are grazing right now. And it isn't green plush grasslands. They are usually just dry grasslands and bushes. And some of the plants here are the Hundia gorandi and the shepherd tree. And the people who live here are called the San people, or also known as the Bushmen. And the way they store their water is they pour it in the ostrich eggs, and then they bury them underground, very deep underground, 1 or 2 feet deep. And the next desert we're looking at is the Outback Desert. And it is actually semi-arid and arid, which means it's hot in some areas and it's normal in some areas. And another thing is the landscape there is rocky hills and stuff. And some of the animals you can see here are the kangaroo and the frill-necked lizard. And lots of lizards are nocturnal, but the frill-necked lizard is actually nocturnal and diurnal, which means they're awake at day and night. And some of the plant life located here is the grass tree and the bob tree. And some of the people who live here are called the Aboriginal people. And the next desert we're going to look at, which is located in Asia, is the Mongolian Desert, which is also known as the Gobi Desert. And some of the topography or landscape here is sand dunes. And some places just rocky flatland, but that's very little places. And here there are quite a few oases. If you don't know what oases are, they are places where there's plentiful of drinking water. And some of the animals that can be found here are camels and snow leopards. And other things you can see here are the plants that are here, which are the tamarisk shrubs and the wild onions. And the people who live here are the Mongolian people. And there is also another desert which is located in Asia, and it connects Africa and Asia together. And that desert is the Arabian Peninsula. And some of the topography or landscapes are hills and flatland, and it's very arid. But as you can see, it is actually quite close to the Sahara Desert. And it's actually very large. The Arabian Peninsula Desert is smaller than the Sahara, but it's still quite large. And some of the animals you can see here are the Nimbuan ibex and a hedgehog. And some of the plant life that's here are the date palm and the desert rose. And the reason people grow date palm is to hydrate themselves in the desert because it has quite a bit of moisture content. And the next desert we're looking at is located in North America, and it's called the Mojave Desert. And the topography or landscape here are mountains. To be specific, Death Valley, the hottest place on Earth. The highest temperature was 132 degrees Fahrenheit. And some of the animals that live here, for example, one of them is the bighorn sheep. And their horns are not actually straight like other goats and bulls and stuff. Their horns are curved. And some of the plants that live here are the Joshua tree and the Yucca cedingra. And another desert we're going to look at is a desert also located in North America, and it is the Sonora Desert. And the topography or landscape are valleys and mountains. And this is not as hot as the Mojave Desert because it's semi-arid, kind of similar to the Kalahari Desert. And some of the animals that live here are the scorpions and the puma. Pumas are kind of similar to lions, or small lions, you could say. There are different versions, and as you can see in this video. And some of the plant life here are cacti and the Darcy blue, which is a small plant or shrubbery, you could say. And the people who live here are many different people who live in North America. And then the Chihuahuan Desert. That actually goes into many places like Mexico, New Mexico, and Texas. And this is actually quite phenomenal because there are lakes in the desert, but they're not lakes we can drink from, like oases, but they are saltwater lakes. And there are valleys, and it is semi-arid. And the Mexican wolf and the mountain lion call this their home. And there is actually quite a bit of animals and wildlife here. We just said a few to inform you. And some of the plants you can see here are the desert cacti and banana yucca. And the next desert we're going to look at is in South America. Not North America, but South America. And it is the Atacama Desert. And it is actually quite small, but this is quite an attracting place. Tourists here always like it because it looks quite similar to Mars, and people use this for filmmaking. And some of the animals that live here are the gray fox and the penguin. And you would expect penguins to live in, like, I don't know, the southern pole of the world, but they actually live in a desert. Isn't that quite fascinating? And some of the plants that live here are the Arabian Desert and cactus, like in many other deserts we have seen. And then another desert also located in South America is the Patagonia Desert. And topography and landscapes there are just plains and mountains. And it is semi-arid, similar to the desert we looked right before this. And some of the animals that live here are the guanaco or gonco and the rhesus. Rhesus is kind of similar to an ostrich, but it has 2 toes, not 3. If you look closely, yes, it has 2, not 3, like an ostrich. And then some plants that grow there are grasses and shrubs. And the people who live here are the Tallahatchie people. And they are surrounded by mountains. But thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Bye!